following the emissions scandal, VW has decided to go into electric car manufacturing. I was trying to look into a new study by IFO, a conservative think tank, and look into what the critics have to say about electric cars, and I have not yet come up with a conclusive opinion on it. I have my doubts that batteries are friendly to the environment, that they can be recycled as the manufacturers claim, and that the energy that is needed to run these cars do protect or can be produced in an environmentally friendly manner. And that's just outside the sheer cost argument. So so far I have not yet come to a conclusion. But today I want to talk about the establishment of a manufactory in China, and in a region that is known for its human rights abuse, particularly drawing attention to the media because of the treatment of Muslims in China. Here is a clip from BBC.
But Xinjiang is something you're not proud to be associated with in terms of what the Chinese government is doing to Uyghur people in that part of the country.
I can't judge that, sorry.
You can't judge it?
No.
But you know about it?
I don't know what you're referring to.
You don't know about China's re-education camps for 1 million Uyghur people, that is, it has referred to as re-education camps as part of its counter-terror threat in the west of this country. You don't know about that?
I'm not aware of that.
The discussion here is about the Uyghurs. They have some radical Islamist elements. There have been violent attacks against Han or Chinese in the past, and the Chinese government is cracking down on them. And as you can hear from the BBC reporter, he is referring to this 1 million people who are in a prison system to re-educate them. It's a communist ploy that is fairly common. The Western media is presenting it to us as if only Muslims were suppressed and only the Uyghurs were subject to these underground penalty systems. The reality is that all enemies of the Communist Party, the Falun Gong, as well as any political opponents, are subject to persecution and tend to end up in Wenton penalty facilities. This conflict only is brought to our attention because really this is a left-wing infight. Here in China, not here in China, but there in China, the communist left is oppressing the Islamists. Now you have probably in your mind that Islamists are a conservative or a far-right force, but the reality really is that once Islamists move to Western cities or Western countries, they are a reliable voting bloc of politically left-wing parties, and that is because Islamists share a lot of ideas with left-wing parties. That is the reason why they vote left-wing parties. That makes them a part of the political left. Now, why do you hear all the time that Muslims, or in particularly the most problematic factions of the movement, the Islamists, are a conservative or a right-wing force? The reason is that there is also an infighting happening in the Middle East, and it's the same factions. Here you have also communists, often Kurdish but also Persian and many others, who are fighting against the Islamists. However, in the Middle East, the Islamists have the upper hand, and they treat the communists just like China treats the Islamists. So this is from the outside, just two left-wing, anti-democratic, anti-American, anti-Jewish, anti-good forces slugging it out. The reasons why we hear that the Islamists somehow are far-right, conservatives, and so on are twofold. One reason is when it's broken, then it's yours. You see that again and again. Nothing is really socialist. Even I had once a conversation with somebody who went down the road to say Lenin wasn't socialist, Stalin wasn't socialist, Mao wasn't socialist, and then it went on until Karl Marx isn't socialist. So if it's broken, if you cannot defend it, it automatically becomes conservative or far right. This is also known as the horseshoe theory. The other reason really is this infighting. If you persecute communists, then you must be far right, right? However, both forces, communists and Islamists, once they move into the West, will be a reliable voting bloc of left-wing parties. Conservative values, freedom of speech, separation of power, limits to the state, and so on, are completely absent from the Far East and the Middle East. So they have no vocabulary to describe what we call conservative. And they will always call their enemies far right. But now I give the floor to Chris Chappell of the channel China Uncensored, who has further remarks about VW.
Speaking of companies that really aren't helping, Volkswagen. The VW Group has just built a factory in Xinjiang. That's the region where China's favoritist happy ethnic Uyghur people live and play and get locked up for no reason. So, would it be better if the head of a company that's invested millions of dollars in Xinjiang has no idea what's happening in Xinjiang? Or if he's just a liar? Either way, this really doesn't look good for Volkswagen, especially after that whole emissions scandal. And especially after that whole working with the Nazis thing. So I think Volkswagen might want to keep its distance from an authoritarian regime that's rounding people up based on their ethnicity and sending them to concentration camps. Just my free PR advice.
Please consider to subscribe to our China Uncensored. You will find the link in the description box, and also you can use the QR code. That was it for today, and I see you soon. Bye.